The American higher education system is in trouble. This is Dr. David D. Schein for a special edition of Saving America. It is time for the leaders of higher education in the United States to take stock and work on absolutely necessary reforms, or you face having it closed down. I'll speak for myself first. I came from an economically challenged background. What did I have going for me? Number one, parents who were encouraging me like crazy to focus on schoolwork. Neither one of them got past high school. And then a first-class K through 12 experience, K through 8 in a Catholic grammar school under the old system with mostly nuns teaching, heavy duty focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Gee, what an idea. And then after that, very good public high schools. So the teachers were committed to education. None of this union nonsense, none of this, gee, we'll go on strike. None of this will close the classroom or don't show up if you're not wearing a mask. We've got to get past that in America, folks. So I did well enough to get a full scholarship to an Ivy League college. I later realized full scholarship is not exactly a ticket to ride. I did have to have federal loan money, and I also had to work all of the time that I was in college. Nothing exciting about that. That's still pretty much true today. I did find that the Ivy League school that I went to was already contaminated with leftists and commies. The positive was that I was mostly taking science and business courses that had not yet been polluted by this movement to the left. And so I made out okay. Plus, the other thing I want people to understand is because of my solid parenting and solid lower grade education, I already had a good ability to think. I was not influenced by leftist professors. I knew the difference. I knew who had their heads screwed on right, and we work from that standpoint. And I think that's important also. So, it's part of the way this thing works. But over my life, I've earned a BA at the Ivy League school, an MBA, a law degree, and a PhD. And that PhD, I went back 25 years later after a successful legal career in order to enter higher education as a professor. I've put in my time, I've worked my butt off, I've done my publications, and I've made it to a full professor level, which was my objective when I went to get my PhD some years ago. For me, education was that pathway to a real and rewarding life. And I've been able to share that with my children and hopefully my grandchildren. And that's what's important to me. And I think that the value of education, at least in my book, is not hard to understand. But we've got a lot of folks out there saying that college education is no longer valuable. Well, what are some things that could be done to move forward and to be sure that that path is well done and is valuable? But let me quickly provide a disclaimer. Not everybody needs to go to college, and not everybody needs to go to college directly out of high school. Sons took time off before they went to college. When they did hit college, they hit it with a vengeance, and they both, I'm proud to say, did very well. So that sometimes a little break in the action helps. What do we need to do now? Number one, woke classrooms must go. The real world is not woke. Anyone who tries to claim there are more than two genders, for instance, needs to be tossed out of higher ed. Communist teachers, this is America. It is success is based on capitalism. Every failed government in the world has failed due to corruption and communism. Let's get straight, folks. There's not a diversity of opinion that we need to have on this particular issue. The commies have lost, and they've lost consistently throughout the world. And if they ever gain control of the world will have lost. Every civilization, Venezuela, the USSR, Cuba, represent failed countries, people without freedoms, a lack of invention, a lack of economic success. Let's not fool ourselves on that. Number three, no connection of higher ed in many cases to the real world. Even if you are being taught literature, drama, or theology, there must be a target for the use of that education. Where will these students be in their studies? And think about it. A 20-year-old or 22-year-old today very likely will work for the next 45 to 50 years doing what? Using what skills? Go woke, go broke, and that includes students. Number four, we've got to focus on intolerance. Intolerance across the board is what we're seeing in many institutions of higher education. In fact, many of the highest rated in the past. And I say in the past because again, I'm a vocal critic of Harvard. I don't think it is the school that its reputation had brought it to. And I think that's a very important consideration. Can it regain it? It has a billions and billions and billions of dollars in its endowment. The answer is yes, it can regain that position, but it needs to get its head straight and along the lines of what I'm talking about in this particular episode. Educated people like myself were exposed to everything. We didn't have to like it, but we knew what it was. We did not cry in the corner. We did not attack teachers who disagreed with us. Adults understand that there are many points of view. This does not mean a student has to adopt the garbage from the left, but we certainly need students to see and understand all different points of view. Number five, lack of return on investment. Parents who send their kids to major in vague subjects like gender studies, communications, that doesn't have a focus on PR marketing and so forth, are indeed wasting time and money. We are in a business. Call them the minimum wage workers for the future. If they do not have a focus in college and take the courses that will direct them towards some specific type of activity. For instance, most grads with a psychology undergraduate degree will need to have a master's degree to get a decent job. Accept that up front. Again, I have close friends who are clinical psychologists, 6 years post-BA in order to practice their profession. It's part of the deal. I have numerous friends in human resources, psychology undergraduate degree, and then advanced training in human resources. Great HR people, but there's a focus there. Don't expect it to be delivered with the bachelor's degree. Number five, complaints about costs while teacher salaries wither away. Oddly enough, the major complaint about college is that it costs too much. Well, guess what? We faculty are not even keeping up with the last decade's cost increases, much less the radical inflation of Bidenomics. A lot of the cost today is for non-classroom staffing and expenses. Time to examine varsity athletics and government mandates just to get started. Eliminating the U.S. Department of Education, which has been frequently mentioned by conservative advocates, certainly sounds like a good idea to me. And you say, what about standards? States can establish standards, and I don't think that the U.S. Department of Education has done anything other than make education more expensive. And I'm very critical of college athletics. Probably the most extreme example is that the Texas A&M University just fired its head football coach, and according to media reports, they owe him a payout of $76 million. Guess what, folks? That is barely less than the entire endowment of the small college where I teach. Yes, folks, ludicrous situations are happening in athletics. It's time to re-examine what we do. And by the way, I am a supporter of what are called intramural athletics. Students can play sports for fun. What's wrong with that? We, the American people, must demand our college education system that supports our society. Support schools that do that, and stop sending your money and your kids to schools that do not provide a return on investment. This has been Dr. David D. Schein for the special edition of Saving America. We always welcome your feedback. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe on your favorite platform.